Capitol Report is a production of Senate Media Services.
This week, 2 bills are signed into law, one to aid veterans and the other to address the impact of opioid abuse. The Senate authors provide details. Plus, the Senate passes a paid family leave bill and education leaders grapple with learning outcomes. Stay tuned for this week's Capitol Report. Welcome to this week's program. I'm Shannon Loehrke. The legislature has passed and the governor has signed into law a plan for the distribution of Minnesota's portion of a $26 billion settlement with some opioid manufacturers and distributors. I spoke with the Senate bill's author, Julie Rosen, this week. The Senate recently passed a bill that would provide $300 million to the state of Minnesota as part of a settlement with opioid distributors and manufacturers. This stems from 2019 legislation that you spearheaded that was an attempt to make those opioid manufacturers in part responsible for the harm that the epidemic has caused. Why was this so important?
Well, it set up the ORAC, it was the Opioid Response Committee, basically, and it actually made the opioid manufacturers and distributors responsible. At the time, we knew lawsuits were coming, but we weren't sure the mechanism and how fast those dollars would be coming in. So it was just the precursor for when the national opioid lawsuit was signed by the state this summer. And we needed to get the funds in place, the accounts in place, and then now we're into a settlement account where the monies can come into slowly. They're going to be coming in over an expanse of from 2031, basically. And we're going to have some relief out to our counties and cities and to the state. 140 counties and cities signed, 140 cities signed the lawsuit, and all 87 counties signed the lawsuit and the release form. So it was a tremendous lift by the Attorney General's office and all the other players, the Minnesota Association of Minnesota Counties, the League of Minnesota Cities, the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. It was a big lift, but I'm very proud of the work they did.
Now, this 2019 tax, essentially, this licensing fee that the manufacturers and distributors pay, this will be ongoing, and this is a separate pot of money than the $300 million.
There's going to be 2 pots of money, right. That was, at the time, we didn't realize the opioid manufacturers and distributors were only paying $265 to do business in Minnesota. So depending on the units of opioids that they were selling into the state, their fee was increased substantially and accordingly. And that was put into this registration licensing fee account. The settlement dollars will go into a separate account, but it all benefits the state, all benefits the organizations that are working on this, and it benefits the counties and the cities that are doing the work on the ground.
Speaking of cities and counties, 75% of this $300 million settlement will go to cities and counties, and you've referred to them as the boots on the ground. What do you mean?
Well, and money goes directly to them. Doesn't go through DHS, goes directly to them, and that's where you're going to find the best work coming out of those counties that have been doing the work, whether it's the MAT program, the medication assisted therapy, whether they're doing some work with law enforcement, whether they are doing any kind of outreach or wraparound services. It's coming at the county level. The cities are also doing it too, but the counties are really the ones that are responsible for any kind of treatment, any Narcan distribution, anything that deals with opioids or mental health too. It all is one and the same, basically.
The remaining 25% of the settlement dollars go to the state. What can all of these dollars be used for?
Oh, they'll be used very well because ORAC is now up and running very well. It's an opioid response group that they probably started off a little slow, but now they are clicking very well. They've got their cadence. They know the recovery groups that are working well. They know where to send the money. How it's expanding. There's a lot of great programs out there. Project Echo that has the results first blessing basically. And so we know where we need to put our resources. We just need more resources.
And the epidemic of opioid abuse has devastated some communities. Do you think this influx of funding will help to turn the tide and repair some of the damage?
I certainly hope so. Of course, now, at the time of the 2019 legislation, that was focused on the prescription, was focused on those known units of opioids that were coming in. Now, our biggest problem is the illicit drugs, the fentanyl, carfentanil, the heroin, and it is decimating our Native American community, our African American community. They're the hardest hit, and we need to get more resources out to our law enforcement, our violent crime enforcement teams that can stop those drugs that are coming into our state. We had 1,500 overdoses in Minnesota last year, the highest ever. And we are known now by BCA as the distribution center for the upper Midwest, Minnesota is. So with that great designation, what are we going to do to stop it? And I think this is one of the tools that are so important, is to make everybody accountable. We can use those dollars, the counties can use the dollars how they have to, but again, it's our responsibility as a state to really focus now on those illicit drugs.
On the Senate floor, Senator David Senjum referred to your remarkable hard work when it comes to substance abuse, not just with the opioids, but also with methamphetamines. Why has this work been so important to you?
Well, there's no one in my family or friends that have they had the unfortunate mishap of being involved in this. Serving a district on the southern border next to Iowa with methamphetamine, it was coming up from Iowa, and it was decimating southern Minnesota with the manufacturing of methamphetamine. And I just got very involved. There was some important people that pulled me into that world, and it's been captivating and very heart-wrenching to see the stories, see the lives lost and the collateral damage. And I just got personally committed to this arena, especially because of the children. The children were the ones that I just, I don't cry often, but those were the reasons why I would see the devastating effects of especially methamphetamine on those children.
Senator Rosen, thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you so much, Shannon. It's good to talk to you.
On a vote of 37 to 29, the Senate passed a bill that would authorize insurance companies to develop paid family wage replacement products in Minnesota.
Senate File 3885 authorizes the creation of paid family leave insurance in the state of Minnesota. For those in the public listening who may not know, insurance has to be authorized before it can be created in the state of Minnesota. So that's what this bill does. It's written broadly enough so that each individual employer can work directly with their insurance company to create the perfect package for their business and their unique employees' needs. And I think it is a simple solution to help expand access to paid family leave benefits in Minnesota, especially for those working for small businesses who are struggling to compete with the larger companies that already offer those benefits to their employees.
When you have limited access, like this, the Senate File 3885 will provide, is it's least likely to help those who need it the most. There are some people who are blessed and lucky and privileged that they have a spouse who has flexibility that they can step in, or they have enough income or enough resources of their own that they can take time off unpaid. But that's not the people who need it the most.
People are very excited when they hear that we are going to move policy forward for paid family leave, and this is just not. This is not what this is. So I hope that constituents were listening. This is just simply an open door for insurance companies to offer more insurance policies, more insurance options that small businesses simply cannot afford.
In order for a product like this to be sold in Minnesota, we have to give the companies a statutory right to do it. And one of the reasons that this is being brought in under the disability part of it, because that's an area that the actuarialists work with, and those actuarialists will be able to fit this in very well to work with this to come up with accurate pricing and accurate potential losses and things like that.
How great would it be if a company that's self-insuring today could buy a product and join a risk pool and share those costs with other like-minded employers?
I think to pretend that the insurance companies treat us fairly, that we can rely on them to take care of our employees is suspect. For my own self, I know that I've had lots of surprises from private insurance companies, and I think if I'm going to rely on a family leave program, for my employees, I can think of no better way for it to be administered as a public program, much like unemployment insurance.
This gives families an opportunity to plan. It gives businesses an opportunity, especially small businesses, an opportunity to compete.
This is a pay-to-play scheme in my mind. This is pay-to-play. This is profit-mongering disguised as care. But it's not care. It doesn't really cover people unless they're wealthy and organized.
This proposal is coming from a mother who gave birth to her first child without any access to paid family leave benefits. From a mother who understands the importance of expanding access to paid family leave for Minnesotans.
Governor Walz signed an Omnibus veterans bill into law this week, a bill that passed the Senate unanimously and the House with nearly unanimous support. This week, I spoke with the chair of the Senate Veterans and Military Affairs Committee, Senator Andrew Lang, who joined me remotely because he's away on guard duty. The Veterans and Military Affairs Omnibus Policy and Supplemental Funding Bill has the distinction of being the first omnibus bill to cross the finish line. Why do you think an agreement was relatively easy to achieve?
Well, I guess after having the agreement, it's always easy. But yeah, during the lead up to the end of session, and all the committee hearings and the members' work on the committee as we've gone through in the process has helped out immensely. I've had a pretty good relationship with Representative Eklund, the chair in the House. We've talked about these bills as they've gone through the process, kind of one by two. We've talked about other issues that we have encountered outside the veterans, policy and financial aspects. So as it came towards the end of session, and knowing that we wanted to get something done prior to and keep it out of the fray of some of the heavier lifts as far as legislation goes, that we had some meetings, and being that it's not a standard legislative budgetary session, it's been kind of strange this year. So we call it the Veterans Omnibus Bill, but technically it's kind of just a veterans bill. It doesn't have omnibus protection, so we needed to be, well into agreement as we led into that day going on to the floor. So we got a signed agreement, and I wanted to make sure that both the Commissioner of Military and Vets Affairs and the Governor and the House were all on board prior to even bringing it to the floor. So that's what we did, and I don't know, maybe it did seem easy from the outside looking in, but we worked pretty hard on it, in the months leading up to passing it off the floor last Thursday.
So we've heard about the difficulties in recruiting and retaining law enforcement quite a lot this session. This bill has funding for the recruitment and retention of Minnesota National Guard service members. So it makes me wonder, is the Guard needing a bit of a boost to recruit and retain members? And why do you think this is the case?
Well, of course, I don't, even though I'm sitting here in uniform, I don't speak for the National Guard. I make the disclaimer, they don't endorse any political candidates, and it's just that I am on duty right now. And so what I would say is the Guard has had some challenges when it comes to recruiting and retention. Within my own personal space, we've lost some very senior guys that I would hope would hang around later on into their careers. So there is some of that retention aspect. Some of the re-enlistment bonuses like you talked about sure hopefully help that. We have in the Minnesota Guard competed against a lot of the civilian sector for employees. We've always done that, but in recent years it seems to have intensified a little bit, especially in the aviation community where the airlines have been hiring so heavily, or in the cyber awareness area where the military is one of the best trainers when it comes to cyber and a lot of computer stuff that I know nothing about, but I know that we do it well, and that the outside world, the civilian sector, does pull pretty heavily from us. So yeah, it's hard for us to compete when we don't make quick reactionary changes when it comes to pay or pay scales or compensation. So this is one tool that we have that we're able to hopefully recruit some good folks and keep those highly skilled, trained individuals in the force. So
I was on the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs website yesterday, and there is a link to on-site cameras for the 3 new veterans homes at Bemidji, Montevideo, and Preston. So you can actually just log on and watch them rise from the ground. All 3 are expected to open next year. The bill adds just over $10 million this year and $16.5 million next year to these 3 projects. How will these additional funds be used?
So the problem that we ran into, and of course this was a federal and state affair, as we have done something, and this is the only place in the nation, and I hope people realize how special it is that we can build 3 of these at the same time, these veterans homes. And the original design of the homes were met by the financial obligation that both the state and the federal government said we'll pay this much money, and the design of the homes are going to do that. Of course, over the last 3 years since those bills were originally funded, the price of construction has gone up exponentially. In fact, there was some issues, and I have to commend the departments, both military and vets affairs, as they've gone on. They've taken the dollars that we give them and said, we're going to build these homes, and we're going to use the term, what was it again? It was they were going to, really what they were going to do is cut corners, but it was a fancy military term about valued engineering. That's what it was. We're going to value engineer some of the aspects of the projects out, so we can fit within the budget constraints. And there was things like the ambulance bay on one of the homes is going to be removed, and there's just going to be doors. They had gone from steel roofing that lasts 100 years to shingles that last 25. Things that kind of bothered me as we've gone forward. So what that is it's a plus up. The $10 million, and that's to fill the gaps where they were intending to fill the gaps by removing items. So, and I appreciate the fact that the department did that, but I think the right way to do that is go back and make sure that we have ambulance bays, or that we have the right kind of roofing, or we have certain aspects of the design that really added to it. The other portion of it is something that we knew was coming down the line eventually once the homes got built, and that's excuse me, the inside, the fixtures, furnitures, and equipment. We got to use the good military acronyms, but it is the FF&E, the beds, the chairs, office furniture, whatever it may be, that fills the inside of the homes and makes them a functional place to live and work. So that is the 2 big funding mechanisms that we included in the 10 and the $16 million. So.
I must admit that I was not aware that some states, Minnesota is among them, offer their servicemen and women a bonus upon the conclusion of a conflict. This bill provides nearly $25 million for post 9/11 veterans and Gold Star families since the withdrawal from Afghanistan last year essentially ended the global war on terrorism. You were excused from voting on the bill because you will benefit from this award. But as a veteran of a military conflict, what does this recognition mean to you?
What does it mean to me? I don't know. I'm probably in a strange world where it probably means more to me what it means to the soldiers, sitting 100 yards behind me. I would say that, it's funny. We have paid that bonus, and it's, it's varied over the years, and how it's doled out, but we've paid it for World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, all the way up to the Gulf War. And now over the last year, since we pulled out of Afghanistan, kind of marked the end of official combat operations. So we didn't have to do it this year, but it seemed like it was a good year to do it. The applicable service members that would be eligible for it, I think number in, they're in the 30,000 range. So there's definitely a lot of folks out there, and it depends on who all applies and what the requirements within the bill are, because there is a set of requirements or a set of levels that can be rewarded. But it's not a financial windfall by any means, but it sure is a kind of a note of appreciation. It's like, hey, we appreciate what you've done. And in the case of the global war on terrorism, it's been going on for 20 years. So it's something that, 2 generations of families have been involved with. It's, there's several father and son, daughter, folks within our units that have served. So it's such a long time frame. And it was an opportunity. We brought it to the caucus in the Senate, and I think, I'm assuming they did the same thing in the House. And it was like, is this the right time? Should we do it now? And I think everybody kind of agreed. So we started at the 24.8, I think it was, $1 million mark. And that fund, if we need to go back and fill it back up next year, depending on how many service members apply, we'll do that. So, but yeah, it's a special thing, and it is, it's not too often that gets to happen. So.
Finally, before we go, we're running short on time, but I wanted to mention also that there's money in this bill to combat homelessness among veterans. And in particular, there's incentives for landlords to rent to veterans. Why is this so important?
Well, it's important for a couple of reasons. And this, homelessness has been one of the focal points of both the administration and the, I can't speak for the House, but I can sure say the Veterans Committee in the Senate has been committed to it pretty heavily. We funded, the suicide awareness last year in the budgetary cycle, and that was, a commitment between the committee and the agency that we're really going to go after this. This isn't just pen to paper or throwing money into the air and starting a new process. We really want to see results. The homelessness and the pathway to home ownership, or the pathway to a career and a job cycle, had to be weaved into that. My viewpoint, we had to say, not only is a homeless veteran going to be housed in the future or be, helped out along the way, give that hand up that they really do need, but we're going to try to help them into a career path. We're going to try to help them into a stable job and housing situation where the government isn't the ones paying the bills, it's the veteran themselves. As far as the rent guarantee portion, I think you were talking about, that is a very important thing where they can start establishing that rent credit. There's also a couple of other things in there where there's a temporary stuff that we talked about, putting eligible vets into a hotel, and that's not only run through the department, but MACV is also been largely involved in that. And the numbers seem to reflect that they're doing a great job. The term that we've and the governor's office have been using is called functional zero. And I think that's an important term, because we know that once we get to zero, the next day there may be a veteran that becomes homeless. So as we transition and say, hey, we're helping these vets out, we want to make sure that we're grabbing additional newly homeless or soon to become homeless veterans to help them out and get them down the path of success in life. So,
Senator Andrew Lang, we're going to have to stop there, but I want to thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, Shannon, I appreciate it very much.
Members of the E12 Education Conference Committee began meeting this week in an effort to find common ground on supplemental spending priorities.
We're being asked to pour more money in programs, policies, and mandates on the schools. What has it brought? What has it brought us? For all the people out there advocating that we continue to do this, for what end? Let's target our approach. Let's target our efforts. Let's focus hard on these things. throwing $1 billion at this and spitballing this is what we're doing here. There are true problems out there that need to be addressed. Problems that were unforced errors on these kids and these teachers.
When we look at the correlation between mental health and achievement, we cannot separate the two and talk about literacy. We know the implications of literacy. We actually know that anxiety, we also know that the impacts of anxiety is that we see that there's a strong correlation between social anxiety and reading comprehension, because more complex tasks actually take significantly more taxing work and memory, which is like reading comprehension. They're more affected by anxiety tasks than those that rely heavily on working memory, such as reading fluency. And so being able to have those two pieces are important to note. And so I don't know that we're actually having a conversation that is about it's one model or the other. I think that we need to be having the conversation about it's and.
We all, again, agree that mental health is important, and children have always had some degree of it, and different things in family life and culture certainly have an impact on that. But I'm going to say flat out, Commissioner, those are ridiculous correlations. Up to 2012, reading scores in Minnesota were increasing. Did we have higher numbers of counselors and therapists in schools at that time? I would dare ask, Mississippi is beating us. Especially in the area of, I'm sure you've done your research by now, Mississippi especially is beating us in the NAEP when it comes to children of color, African-American children and Hispanics. Does Mississippi spend more per child? Does Mississippi have the extensive money, the amount of money to pour into pre-K and all that stuff? Do they have a therapist and a counselor in every room? I think these are important things, but I think you're putting the cart in front of the horse.
If reading was the solution to our problems, we would all agree today and all go home. And children of Minnesota would have the resources that they need, which is just, okay, fund literacy, everybody goes home. Every teacher, every student, everyone is happy, but that's not the case. What happens to our students when they experience trauma? Their brain shuts down. They don't learn. So we have students who are experiencing racism. We have students who are experiencing homophobia, Islamophobia, students who are being discriminated because of disability. Those students can't learn because they don't feel safe.
But we also have to recognize here in Minnesota that we don't currently have an equal opportunity for our kids to be in the classroom. And there's data that speaks to that point. And if we don't have an equal opportunity for our kids in K through third grade to be in the classroom at the same levels as their peers when you're looking at Black students, Indigenous students, and students with disabilities, we're going to continue to see the same poor outcomes.
Join us again next week as we delve into more topics affecting Minnesotans. I'm Shannon Loehrke, and on behalf of all of us at Senate Media Services, thanks for watching.